Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Anusha Soni. We talk about the problem and the menace of deepfake. As the artificial world and the world of technology offers a lot of opportunities and incentives for today's day and modern age, there are a lot of pitfalls as well. Deepfake is indeed one of them. It is actually an example how technology has moved fast ahead, much ahead of laws, regulation, and more importantly, the authorities at this point are grappling how to tackle this menace. We have had lead actresses like Katrina Kaif, Alia Bhatt. We've had celebrities like Rashmika who have fallen prey to it. It's mostly the images of women which are morphed into inappropriate videos and images, and they go viral online. It's not just an issue of image or morphing which has come to light, but it's also about misrepresentation and how technology can be misused if there are no proper laws in the country. Last week, you'd remember that the government had emphasized on the urgent need to strengthen rules, regulations against the spread of deepfakes. We had Prime Minister speak about this. Union Minister Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar on Friday had said that the government will assign a special officer to look into this entire issue and come with the fresh set of rules and regulations that can tackle this problem. Yes, the present Information Technology Act has the avenues to take care of this, but to make these platforms accountable is a huge problem. It's not just about the victimization of women, it's also about political misinformation, it's also about misrepresentation and bigger ills that we have not countenanced at this point in time. First, let's tell you about the dangers of the deep fake, what exactly they are and what are the perils that lie in the way. Well, you'd remember the story. This is how it all came to light and public attention when Mandana's face was morphed into a British Indian woman named Zara Patel, and she was misrepresented. Katrina Kaif was seen wearing a white top instead of a towel in a fighting scene. Kajol's face was morphed into a social media influencer participating in Get Ready With Me trend that came to light. Shubman Gill was morphed into Arjun Tendulkar in a picture of Sarah. That's exactly what was done. Her picture was misused also. And now the latest example, of course, is of Alia Bhatt. Her picture has been taken and put into an inappropriate video. That's the biggest danger that we're talking about. Let's talk about how is it that we can bring in accountability of these platforms. Well, right now it's difficult to ensure compliance. Most of these servers are situated abroad, and a lot of these companies will come before the ministry and court and argue that we are hosting third-party content and we cannot be made directly liable for the sort of content which is coming in. Each time you make a complaint to us, we will act on it. As I said, the content is removed once a complaint is raised, but very precious time is lost. There is no prior vetting of the content, which is one of the biggest problems that lie in the way. Technology is easily available on these various mobile applications that you can download on your phone, and then perhaps any individual can misuse it. There is a need for a regulatory mechanism in India, especially at the level when applications are launched in this country, and what exactly that we can do. Artificial intelligence, as I said earlier, has offered a lot of opportunities, but the deepfake danger points out for the need of regulation. Will these platforms do enough to tackle the menace of deepfake? That's exactly the question we ask on Plain Speak tonight.
NATI and the Government of India will nominate a Rule 7 officer and will take a 100% compliance expectation from all the platforms in the 12 harms that have been laid out. We'll make it very simple for the citizen to report violations of law by platforms to the government.
Well, the question on everybody's mind is, how is it that we can stop this? Let's ask the experts who are joining us on the broadcast. We have Dr. Mukesh Chandar, who's the former DGP of Goa. He's also a Shivning Cyber Security Fellow at Cranfield University in UK. We have Shreya Suri, who's a cyber law expert and partner at Indus Law. Mr. Dilip Cherian, who's a well-known image guru, is also joining us on the broadcast. I want to cut across to Mr. Mukesh Chandar first. Dr. Chandar, my question to you is, And most of us are wondering at this point in time that what is it that can be done at a policy or a regulatory level to stop this? Is this about the accountability of these applications / platforms, or perhaps the government can do something? Dr. Muktesh Chandra.
First of all, as you are all aware that the IT Act is in place and the rules, a number of rules have been framed, including one which lays down the responsibility of the intermediaries. The stand which is in the beginning was that they have nothing to do with the content and they are neutral. They just provide the platform. From that stand to what the government of India has always been asking, there has been quite a substantial change in the attitude of these companies, and now the accountability is increasing. So they once the problem lies that once they are notified, they are that their content is objectionable, it is a amounting to crime, then they are supposed to remove it within a time frame. If they don't do, then their accountability is there, and they are also liable as per the law of the land. But problem is that do they have their own internal mechanism of filtering such things, or is there anything they are doing, or they are just making money out of the platforms, and the responsibility lies on the general public or the victim to inform. And the problem of deepfake is not a recent phenomenon, and for last few years we have been seeing it, and particularly in several countries, cyber crimes committed using deepfakes have started, and porn world is full of all these things.
Exactly.
We have waken up from a sort of
slumber.
I would say slumber because of this recent case, and now a lot of exercise is going on within the government circles, about which I am aware that several new rules are likely to come up which will fix this. But the problem will not stop, because the AI generated deepfakes, it was easy to identify normal morphing of pictures, but now it is possible using AI to do it much more professionally, where voice can also be mimicked, lip syncing can also be done.
And absolutely, it can be very, very difficult. Mr. Dilip Cherian, when it comes to these celebrities, I'll come back to you, Dr. Chandan. Mr. Cherian, when it comes to these celebrities, of course, these are well-known actresses, models, celebrities, and they can call out that this is a deep fake, and this is something wrong that has been done to us. But I know a lot of women who are professionals, who are active on social media, and their images have been used on pornographic sites. They have approached the Delhi police, but even right now, the images have not been taken down. It is a huge problem, especially for women, and I wonder how exactly is it that the authorities are going to grapple with it. As one of the experts really pointed out, that technology has gone much ahead of how much law and authorities can really do.
Totally agree with you. I think that the law is running too slow to try and catch up with the technology that's moving very, very fast. So the law will always be behind, and we need to recognize that in whichever sphere of technology we talk about.
Yes.
The second thing is that celebrities and Bollywood and people like that are in one category, but the real danger which government seems to have woken up to is the fact that as we head into election season, as somebody who talks to a lot of political parties, I can see what's being produced, what's being done in one place or the other. There is a danger that deep fakes could actually alter the nature of the narrative. Exactly. And that is a huge danger for society as a whole. Number three, the bigger danger to my view is that government is trying to move at a knee-jerk pace where it has promised that in the next 10 days, it will bring in new rules and regulations. Too often we find that this kind of thing only results in more pressure on the platforms rather than any actual results. So what is going to happen is that we may indeed have rules on the bounds, but the question we need to ask is, are these good enough? Are these forward-looking enough? And are we making sure that the platforms themselves are partners with us in making sure, because they also have an interest in making sure they catch these things. So we
Absolutely.
need to make sure that we work in tandem with them rather than as in a sense of hostility. So if we look at all these three cases, politics, rule making,
Yeah.
and partnerships,
Yeah.
if we look at all these three things,
Yeah.
I think we can tackle this far better.
I want to bring in Shreya also into the discussion. Shreya, these women who are highly successful women, model actresses in the public domain, their images being morphed, that has come to light, and of course, I'm sure action will also follow. But imagine if this is done to a woman living in a smaller city, in a smaller town of the country, and the kind of ostracization it can bring to somebody. The second important aspect, of course, has been raised by Mr. Charan, is about political misinformation, which I believe is far more dangerous. When it comes to these applications that you can simply download on your phone from the Play Store, there is no vetting process per se which is done by the authorities. Anybody can go ahead, do a basic check with the Google Play, comply with their norms and launch this application. But the government of India at the regulatory level has no checks and balances at the stage of launch. Do you think that's the gate that we really need to put a keeper on?
See, I think before delving very, very deep into this issue, we first need to understand, that what we are dealing here, what we are dealing with here is intermediary platforms. And Section 79 and these rules that have come in were formed to provide a sort of safe harbor to them. So that they are not directly held liable for the content which is posted on the platform. Primary reason being that it is not generated by these platforms. Yes, there are certain due diligence measures which have been mandated through these rules and certain minimum amount of checks and balances that go into moderation of the content which is posted.
Yeah.
But having said that, to what extent can you start getting into the content and the vetting process to still be able to seek the protection of that safe harbor? I mean, at what point are you seeing to be actually curating the content on your platform versus, whether you are genuinely providing true user-generated content to the audience?
Okay.
So that's where the conundrum really lies. And I do understand, there are deep fakes that have been going very, very viral because of this, because of which this issue has become quite a burning one, although this has been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
And with the advent of generative AI, there are so many platforms which actually enable the creation of explicit and adversarial content.
That's exactly the point, Shreya, that I was talking about. So that's exactly the point that I was talking about, that on the Play Store you can simply go and download an application that will help you generate a deepfake of kind, and it's in some fun. But people don't realize that this is exactly how technology is going to be misused. Dr. Muktesh Chandra, nobody questions the intent of the government because it's a problem for them as well. Political misinformation, especially so close to election, hurts all political parties and players. I'm not just talking about the intermediaries, but many countries, including Europe, US, have far tighter regulation and norm when it comes to launching of these technologies. Their checks and balances compared to India is much, much better. When it comes to India, do you think there are lessons that could perhaps be learned, whether it's about blockchain, whether it's about artificial intelligence? Globally, as a community, the governments have started thinking together. Dr. Chandra.
First of all, I would like to mention here that blocking certain applications at the Play Store level doesn't serve the purpose, because a knife is useful in a kitchen, and the same knife can be used to kill somebody. So you can't stop the manufacture of a knife that because it is your knife which is used to kill, therefore you can't sell it, you can't make it or something like that. So in the same way, AI generated contents do serve certain purpose. Maybe, for example, a artist who is dead and certain portions of the movie are yet to be completed. It can be used. It's a useful purpose. And in the same way, AI generated anchors can read the news. There are so many good use cases of these applications. So application per se is not offensive. It is the usage. The person who is using it for fraudulent purposes, for mischievous purposes and committing crime out of it. So that is where the responsibility starts of the first of all the law enforcement agencies, the IT ministry, and everybody else. And also, once informed, immediately take it down. The content has to be taken down. The problem is that these contents do remain in many forms. In spite of the ban, in spite of removing order issued by the IT ministry and certain, because of this technology, it is not possible for any law to keep pace. It is changing
Okay.
every month, every few days. So I think amendments will keep on happening. We'll keep on learning lessons.
The authorities
Keep on
and
adding
our
this to it.
enforcement has to be far more dynamic than the technology, or at least keep pace with it. Mr. Dilip Cherian, I want to close the discussion with a forward-looking piece coming from you. You spoke about political misinformation, and I believe when you look at the saga in United States of America and what happened with Facebook, it's a classic example as to when technology is untamed, the kind of influence it can have in electoral processes, democratic processes, and that's the larger danger of deepfake that you also pointed out. You said there shouldn't be hostilities with the intermediaries, rather partnerships that should really be looked at. But if you look at the last 5 to 7 years and the kind of litigation that we have had in this country at the high courts, at the Supreme Court, to ensure basic accountability and compliance from key intermediaries, key companies, technology companies, has been a huge concern for the courts of this country, including child pornography, for which the Supreme Court of India really had to step in. So fostering that partnership, do you think that's going to be easy?
I completely agree that it is not easy. But even a platform like TikTok, as early as March, has already issued very stringent rules in terms of taking down content where deepfake was being used. So some platforms have the technology and the capability of doing that and are able to see far ahead. Since you said we should look forward, I think that we need to work with platforms to make sure that they have, many of them do have in place technologies which throw up red flags when deep fakes are detected. There's no reason why they should wait for injured consumers to go in there and jump at them and say, we need this changed. That is not necessary. But what is necessary is to make sure that these platforms have the ability to get back to government and say, we've detected these we did not detect. And
well,
government
sir,
needs
to have
take
a
in
grievance
good faith.
redressal officer appointed in this country by the leading intermediaries, we have had to have court orders and the ministers had to come forward. But let's see what the government really comes up with. The guidelines expected under the IT Act. Dr. Muktesh Chandar, Mr. Dilip Cherian, and Shreya, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We'll continue this discussion. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Plain Speak. Thank you so much for watching.